This is part of the Discover series of amazing people that do amazing things that have gracefully took time to come and share what they do and how they do it. But I was going to pass it over to Gus to introduce Sophia and the amazing things she's doing specifically as Gus originally met her and introduced her to the network.
Yeah, welcome everyone, and thank you for joining us. And yeah, just to briefly introduce Sophia. Back last year, I had found out about this event called MIT Reality Hack, which is a XR hackathon, and so I applied. Barry, one of our colleagues too, that you might know from Ireland, also applied. And so we both went to MIT in January of this year. It was an amazing event because it was everything about hacking, doing a hackathon on XR. And so there was a lot of different categories and things that we were able to sign up for. And yeah, just randomly in the auditorium around where I was sitting, Sophia, which is one of my team members, eventually became one of my team members, was there along with Max, Chow, and another student that we were with there. But so we met randomly, but it was really cool. It was a team that we were all interested in the education aspect of XR hackathon. And so we created essentially what was Scratch for VR or XR. So we were thinking, what would Scratch look like in that environment? And it's something I've been tinkering around with over the last year. And so we built a little prototype. Sophia has a background in computer science, and so she was doing a lot of the heavy work during the hackathon, and we won. But we didn't win. We were chosen as finalists under the education category, and so it was a really exciting time. And so Sophia, along with the team, it was an amazing time. I highly encourage you to look into MIT Reality Hack. They host it every year, so you have to apply for it. It's something that maybe your youth members might be able to go to as well. I think the youngest member there was like 13 or 14 years old. It was really young. But they're mostly professionals who work in the industry and people that want to go get into XR development. So it was such a great experience. And Sophia did a lot of like the programming and things that we were doing at the hackathon that ultimately led to being chosen as a finalist. Meta was really impressed with our project, and it was just such a gratifying and amazing event that I told Jeff and Matt here. I was like, hey, we need to bring Sophia on. You need to meet her. It's really cool, and I think she has a lot of value to add to the discovery talk. So yeah, that's just a little background of like how I met her at MIT. And yeah, I'll let Sophia take it away from here.
Thank you, Gus. Let me share the screen first before starting. Hold on. I'm assuming that everyone's seeing the screen. Okay, thank you. So yeah, hi everyone. I am Sophia. I'm a XR game developer and a UX researcher. I'm actually a researcher turned engineer, and I'm inspired by amazing people like Gus, cultures, exciting exercises, new technologies, and good food. Before jumping into what XR is, let me give a couple definitions in this zone, just so that people know where I'm coming from, because all these terms have been changing throughout the time. So VR, as we all know, virtual reality, it usually comes with a headset. Examples will be MetaQuest, Valve Index, and HTC Vives. Lately, when people talk about AR, I'm finding more and more people referring to the optical pass-through, like the Magic Leap or HoloLens. So what it actually is imagining you wearing a glasses. At the same time, you're seeing a floating menu in the area that you're in, or a ball, and it's already there for you to grab it. That's a virtual object. The typical examples will be Pokemon Go, and all the fancy Instagram filters that you can have things floating in your back or it's hovering on your head. MR. Mixed reality is the way that Meta has been talking about it. It's the way Apple has been talking about it. It's also now being used to refer to video pass-through, which is combining the real world with virtual objects. And as for XR, it's the umbrella term to all of the above technologies that I mentioned. Wait. Oh, no. Is it back? Okay, great. So my XR journey started from this education AR home safety app for preschoolers in Taiwan. We got the idea from my professor who was struggling to teach her son and her daughter to avoid home injuries, such as sharp objects like knives, needles, or even fire and electricity. Since her kids, like many other kids, were addicted to their iPads and iPhones, we figured it's probably has a potential for kids to learn, important safety awareness through engaging AR games. At that time, spatial computing isn't as mature as it is right now. So even though we did our best shadings, lightings, these virtual objects can sometimes don't look as appealing as the virtual or the real world. My other professor was like, I think the problem is, I think real world fake people might do the job. That's how I got involved into the next project, was it's a Pepper robot e-commerce and library app. So Pepper is the SoftBank's humanoid robot that has wheels to move around in the area, has pretty intricate gesture movements, can give a decent amount of interactions. Pepper actually did a really good job in handling all the routines, the repetitive tasks, and just helping out basic questions in the library. And during the process, I think Pepper made some good friends too. As time went by, I wanted to explore a little bit more about VR things, and I might also got a little bit addicted to gaming. So I helped build the staff training program that feels like a puzzle game. Like the pick up the triangle, turn it, and it will be a square. Put it in the square hole toy for kids. This is the adult version. So workers will equip with HoloLenses that can see holographic images of the cable layouts that with other components that is overlaid on their real world workspace. And this actually helps them improve the accuracy of complex wiring tasks and also speeds up the process. Plus, they won't feel too bad about themselves when they make mistakes. Your boss probably wouldn't yell at you. I was told that they further expanded the project and actually applied it to the assembling process. So it's like checking if they get the correct answers every single time when they take a glance at the product. It's a really nice hands-free, real-time guidance. After that, my addiction to games got serious. That's how I built Whisper of Dust, which is my first game that I've ever built. To be honest, the process was definitely frustrating because it's my first game. I did not know a lot about what and how to build a game, but I've learned a lot. I've made the music with GarageBand on my iPad. I did some 3D modeling with Blender for my game scenes. I learned how to do cutscenes and animations with Unity. And I also got so motion sick in a painful way to know that the 72
Hi, my name is
frame
Alana
rate,
McCray Adams. I'm calling on behalf.
oop, it's fine. I learned that the 72 frame rate is the threshold for VR users to not feel sick. These are all very valuable experience. My beginning of the game dev journey was just me. It's pretty lonely. I wanted to meet amazing people, and that's how I get to meet Gus at the MIT Reality Hack. During the hack, we built air blocks, an MR interactive 3D block, code block, and learning app where people can grab blocks that are embedded with code, like move 5 steps or change color and make the certain object do a series of orders. So players can rearrange the blocks in their desired way, and the codes will always run from top to bottom like a waterfall. Although the hackathon ended, some of our teammates are still developing and expanding this project right now. The last one is a personal ongoing project for me. As a international student, I was foreign to Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh is actually a really gorgeous city in its own way. It's chill, it's comfortable. People here are also really nice. I've noticed a few spots in the city that I really want to share with my friends. But instead of just bluntly pointing it out with a Google Map link, I want them to discover the beauties that I've seen while walking there, taking the bus, or just simply traveling around in the city. So it's like revealing the masterpiece step by step. So that's why I was working on a Niantic Lightship. That's a trick that I'm working on recently. So I wanted to share a little bit about air blocks. This is a video that we did during the hackathon. It might give people a clear example of what it's like.
To learn about computational thinking. So how does it work? Build your own logic flow by connecting single blocks. The connection is immediately visualized in your surroundings. The environment reacts to manipulation of blocks. Here, the ball is hiding behind the couch after the go hide block is connected to the stack. And the best part, you can share this experience with others, discussing ideas or changing blocks together. Through a gestural interface, you can intuitively search for new blocks and add them to your scene. Work on missions to advance your learning, prompting you to complete a certain task using only the available blocks. The community feature allows for sharing your favorite builds or remixing the projects of others. Air blocks, the mixed reality experience enabling a new age of interactive, collaborative learning.
So yeah, that was air blocks. We did more since we was using the building blocks toolkit from Meta. And at that time, they didn't really give us the full capacity and full potential to build what we want to build. But during GDC, I actually asked them about it, and they're like, yeah, we can make it during the hackathon, but we did it after that. So yeah, my teammate and I were working on that right now to so maybe Gus can showcase it later on in any of the talks. So back to XR. I often get this question from a lot of people. People are like, "Hey, you're working on XR. Is it going okay? Like, what's going on with that? I don't feel like it's succeeding." But personally, I think it is succeeding a lot more than many people realize. A lot of people are unaware of all the growth and progress that is happening behind the scenes. The fact is that the number of headset is sold up to 10 of millions, and there's also a thriving ecosystem happening. It's definitely not taking off like how touchscreen or cell phones were becoming a thing. Some people was anticipating it to take off in sort of like a vertical overnight way, but instead we're seeing it as a bit of a slower growth right now. Adoption happens gradually and slowly. It's kind of collecting data from different places, learn all the good things, and then put them together in one piece. One of the reasons that XR in particular is not positioned in the super super rocket takeoff is because this type of technology is so hard to understand until you try it by yourself. One example that I've learned from GDC is, DVRs. DVRs wouldn't take off overnight because people were like, pause TV? Why? I don't know. Scheduling? I already can record stuff from my VCR. Why do I need this? It's not until you kind of sat down with DVR for a while and you're like, oh yeah, the scheduling does help a lot. And I get it. And I think XR is one of the things. It's really that we are seeing more and more headsets coming to the market, and more opportunities are open to people to try these things. And so I'm definitely going to see that growth continue. A lot of non-VR XR users are like, so why are you so devoted to this technology that I've never tried? I don't think it's a real thing. What is like? Is this just a gimmick? Is this a 3D glasses? And my answer is the whole XR space that gives you this sense of presence is why it's so special. This feeling that you're actually in a place, in the space, makes it special. Often when I get my friends to try my VR headset, when I show the Jurassic Park app, when the T-Rex got too close to them, they'll back up and hit the wall or my lamp and scream, like if the T-Rex is there and it's a fictional character. Like, duh, they know that it's not real. They know that, but something in the back of their minds believe that it's all around them was real. And the feeling of the presence there is very, very special. It's what at the heart of all of these VR and XR experiences are. The feeling of actually being in a place starts with body awareness. It's like when you go to a concert. Yeah, definitely you can watch a concert and you're there. Or you can also take out your phone and film it, like you're not there anymore, because you're looking at the video of the world, not the world itself. And when you're looking at a flat thing in front of you, it's not a feeling of presence. It's a feeling like, I'm making a movie of the reality. And that's why the headset presence isn't as important as people were arguing, because it makes your brain viscerally feel different. So talking about the difference, I also want to talk about the difference between VR and MR. Already stated that presence is important in VR. How is it important in the same way for MR? A way to think about it is, for VR, you're creating a virtual world that has virtual objects in, and they're naturally in harmony because you created them together. And the weird part is you're bringing your real life body into the world. And that's the challenge of VR designs. I've got this virtual world, virtual objects, very nice looking. Now I got to make my real body interact with this. You're the intruder of the virtual world. One VR game example that I really, really like is Moss. You guys can search it up right now. It gets a third person perspective while you're looking at a cute mouse on its adventure. On the way, you're helping the mouse get through obstacles, you're picking up the stairs, you're killing the monsters, you're pulling up the hidden stairs underneath the ground. It's no longer just a typical first-person experience. It doesn't necessarily always have to be a first-person experience for you to feel the presence in VR devices or VR applications. For MR, you're in the real world. You're here. You're bringing the virtual objects into your real body, into the real world. And that's where the challenge is. How to make the virtual object intrude your real life, but it doesn't feel too strained. It still looks like it belongs to this real world, and it actually makes sense. It interacts with the real world. So the example that I'll be giving here is Demio. It's a role-playing board game. It was originally a VR game, but they made it into an MR game. So as you're watching TV, you're munching on snacks, and you're cleaning up maybe your kitchen, while you're also playing the virtual board game that is on your kitchen table. The game pieces are sitting on top of the table, and that's what creates the immersion. Well, plus, it's really easy to clean up afterwards, so. People also ask me, well, isn't XR just for gaming? My answer is yes, but not really. So let's start it this way. Tesla, we all know it's an electric vehicle manufacturer. There's incredible focus on the future of self-driving cars and AI. Both technologies raise the standards of living, improve productivity, boost economic growth around the world. They wouldn't be possible without the video game industry. Why? Because of the computer chip manufacturer called NVIDIA. NVIDIA has long focused on graphics, computing semiconductors for the video gaming industry, and those chips originally was for more realistic graphics for games. But now it's a partnership with all these big companies like Microsoft to build AI supercomputers for future projects, fueling new technologies that could provide more immersed experience in the future. So how exactly can that shape our world? Gaming will still indeed remain at the center of the VR experiences or XR experiences for a while. The headsets with fast speeds and advanced networking will provide an even more immediate, immersive 360-degree audio-visual perspective. For all these headset companies to push for more adoption of their headsets, video games is the critical goal for revenuing and catching the user's interest. So let's take MetaQuest devices, for example. They have succeeded in shooting games like The Walking Dead, video games, music games like Beat Saber, city simulation games like, Little Cuties. All these games has been the first ones to push the potential of other uses of XRs. Developers have been creating cultural impacts where they can teach people to learn their traditional recipes and their own cultural background. Educational purposes where people get hands-on training in a risk-free environment and a costless environment. Medical impacts where it can help people, lower their anxiety, depression through meditation. Social impacts where people get to interact and socialize in ways that mimic real life, despite the geographic and physical barriers. Typical example, I think that's called Chat VR, Chat AR, Chat, I forgot. Anyways, that's a thing. Yeah, finally, I'll be talking about what XR game development is like. If you're thinking of monetizing a game and you're thinking of making a really legit game, or even looking for funds and ventures, there's a lot more details and extra steps to add in to what I'll be sharing later. But this is just my way and the way that I've been following to build my own XR game development. So firstly, I would start from concepting and planning. The initial stage will involve brainstorming, conceptualizing the type of experience you want to create and provide to the player. This will include defining the target audience, the core gameplay mechanics, and how the physical and digital elements will interact. As you can see on the right, this is a screenshot from my own note from the game of Whisper of Dusts. The player experience I wanted to provide was cozy, it's a puzzle game, maybe even add on companion in the future. So that's why I listed at the least at the bottom. And then the core mechanic I was thinking of is, collect keys, collect books, or collect items that is scattered around in the dungeons, solve the puzzles, and then discover more stories. The game loop will be finishing all puzzles. You have to have an ending of the game. So that's why the ending that I said it is, when you collect all the puzzles, then that's the end of the game. Then it's like characters and scenes. You don't necessarily have to have like characters and scenes already set it up in your mind. Maybe your game does not have a character. That could also be the case. So that's why like this will depend by case by case. So in this stage of planning, it would also involve in considering the hardware that you want to work on, such as VR headsets, AR glasses, or other sensory devices. That would lead us to the technology selection over here. The technology selection does not only mean the hardware part, it also means the software part, which is the development platforms that you want to work with. It's the typical most famous two game engines will be Unity and Unreal. Both support AR and VR. And you can also use ARKit for iOS devices or AR Core for Android devices. During the process, you need to evaluate the pros and cons of each technology regarding the project's needs, such as hardware limitations and user accessibility. In my own opinion, just pick the tool that is comfortable and is accessible for you. Don't pick the tool that you're not comfortable with, because when you struggle with the process, you'll be like, why did I pick the tool? You'll be blaming yourself. And if you're familiar with a tool, it's easier for you to get all the resources that you need during the process. Third will be environment design. It involves the creation of the digital components that will be overlaid or integrated with the physical environment. The lighting, the scaling, shading, physical laws are all keys for your models to look like they are working together. Typical 3D modeling tools are like Autodesk, Maya, Blender. The reason I listed Photoshop is a tool for people to add textures to their 3D models. What I mean textures, you could think of it as you want to build a really old modeled computer and you kind of want to mimic where you put your thumbs on the screen and it's dirty. That kind of thing will be the texture of it. So people will kind of use Photoshop instead of just, the typical built-in Unity texture kit because it cannot mimic what you want to achieve. The first part will be interaction design or sound design. This is the stage where you would stimulate how players will interact with the game. This will include developing user interfaces that are intuitive and design interactions that feel natural. Gesture recognition, voice commands, or even like traditional input methods like controllers or touchscreens are also a part to consider when you want to create a fluid experience. One thing that I learned a lot from the hackathon was sound is actually a really gentle yet powerful way to cue the user to do certain interaction in the game. It's a really great navigation index. It adds on emotion and narrative depth. It enhances storytelling. The direction and the natural sounds can also build tension, convey mood, or signal changes in the narrative. One thing that I learned from Whispers of Dust was initially I wanted to build in a treasure box in the scene, but I don't want to signal people by just adding a glowing effect on it because it looks weird. You don't have a real object in your world glowing by itself unless you put LEDs on it. So instead of putting visual effects, I put it sound effects. So when users turn towards the treasure box, there will be a sound change where they'll be like, okay, there might be something over there that I can look for. And that's how I did the game design for Whispers of Dust. Fifth part will be prototyping and testing. It helps identify technical issues and user experience problems. Getting the user feedback in an early stage is very crucial. It can make you make sure that you're not going in the wrong way. And it also refines the interaction and design elements. You don't really necessarily need a full game or the full function to be there to completely it doesn't have to be completely developed to do the testing. Even if you only have a really shabby scene, or even if you only have a square over there to get the playful function, it's fine. Just get the feedback and you'll know if it makes sense to the user or not. You always get really great insights from a second eye. Sixth will be the development, which is the tedious part. But that will be the fun part because this is where all the magic happens. So remember to pick like an IDE that you want to work with. Typical people would pick, Visual Studio. I personally use Visual Studio. And if you're working with another person, this is a collaborative project, then always make sure that you have version control. You have GitHub, GitLab, anything like that for both of you guys to have branches or different versions. If something messes up, if any bug crashes the whole entire game, you always have a backup plan. The seventh part will be iteration and enhancement, which is after the game, after like most of the 70 or 90% the game is built, you can use game analytics platforms like Google Analytics or Unity Analytics to gather the player data to refine the gameplay with an evidence-based tool. In my previous research for the robot, we actually used heat maps to understand the player movements and interactions within the game environment. The last part will be deployment and support. So you could either deploy your games into platforms like Steam, Oculus Store, or even Apple Store for distribution. Remember to always provide a player support, or like even a simple Q&A will do fine. Or you could also do, patches for the bugs in the game later on if anyone told you that something was going wrong. Finally, we're jumping into the insights from GDC. I was pretty lucky that I won I think it's called Sweet Takes from Microsoft. They sponsored me to go to GDC this year. What is GDC? GDC is the world's largest professional game industry event where programmers, artists, producer, game designers, and other involved in the game development of interactive games and VR games would gather to exchange ideas and try to shape the future of the industry. GDC hosts a variety of sessions, panels, tutorials that is presented by gaming experts that covers a range of topics, not just about game designs, programming, audio, visual arts, but also business management and more. It also features an expo that showcases the latest game development tools and services from leading technology companies such as Meta, Unity, and Epic Games. Well, the thing that I learned from GDC is, yes, the AI boom is here. I'm not the first to say it, but the generative AI boom is definitely here. It's bringing massive opportunities for creative learning. One star of the conference was In-World AI. They partnered with Ubisoft, NVIDIA, Xbox to create a whole new perspective on non-player characters, which is NPCs. In-World AI showcased their advancements in AI technology that is tailored for game development. They demonstrated how their AI tools can enhance the realism and interactivity of NPC in games, making these characters more responsive and lifelike. They even did like an integration of AI-driven dialogue systems and behavior modeling, which is designed to create more immersive game experience. All of these AI enhancements are aimed to provide game developers with tools to craft more engaging and more dynamic game environments. Okay, that's a lot of buzzwords. We're going to skip that. I was pretty lucky that I got to try it in person. What it actually is like is, here, let me show the picture. In the background, you can set a list of character traits. Like if you want the character to be tough, to be harsh, to be stubborn, all these words. And they have a linear settings of mood, like you want to set a higher enjoyment of this character than mad, or a more negative personality than positive personality, and things like that. And according to what the player was saying, everyone has their own different, unique gameplay experience. So in this picture, as you can see, the left side, the guy on the left side is the player. He has a headset on his neck. When he puts on the headset and talks through the microphone in front of him, it provides an input into the game. The game will then process if you're being rough to him, or if you're being helpful to him, and then provide different reactions or to different game endings according to whatever you said. So another way to explain it is if you say swear words to the AI character, I did try it, by the way, they will actually be really rejective. So don't do that in the future if you play with AI NPC gamers. Another highlight of AI was AI generative 3D models. There is this company called Meshi who was also sponsored in Reality Hack. During Hack, they did demo how strong their tool can be by just inputting a query like creating a blue treasure chest decorated. And you can get this really good looking 3D model in the middle of the picture. For indie developers or smaller game studios, this indeed is a really good tool that helps them improve their production speed. But the question people have been asking in GDC was, where and how did you get all these 3D training models from? Did you just, copy them online, or like, doesn't it have copyright issues? I actually got to talk to one of the 3D artists who was working in the industry for 8 years and is currently working in EA. She said if you look closer and take out all the texture and materials from the 3D objects, these generative 3D models are not sophisticated enough for AAA games. But a lot of big companies in the industries have been secretly building their own AI tools. Either it's AI coding tools or it's AI modeling tools, whatever it is, modeling, shading, or even just tree building tools, which Unity did. Companies have been looking forward to the potential growth of AI. And that is actually it for whatever I want to share about the AI perspectives in GDC. I'm open to any questions.
I was actually gonna one say awesome presentation.
Thank you.
But two, I recall I was watching they're doing like an unveiling of a game that's coming out almost in the near future with Captain America and Black Panther, and they were talking about how they're using the AI to inform like the terrain and the landscape. So as you interact with it, so if you drive over a certain part, like and there's snow, like AI is informing those different layers how to react in real time. So it no longer is it like, are you just on a path if you drive through something? It's like actually like responsive, and then it responds over time. So if, let's say if you break a branch or something at some point in the game, like not only will it stay there, but if it gets moved by somebody else in the course of the process of however long you're playing it, like it continues to move and evolve and decompose and all that stuff. And I was like, that's pretty cool. In terms of how they're able to use AI and how they're able to kind of implement that like in real time. So really, really dope, and actually very exciting. I never realized that Unreal was almost free. I know, is that accurate? Like in order to use it and stuff. So um definitely gonna start getting, more of our teens like involved in understanding, the opportunities and capacity that there is out there. So yeah, this helped to kind of demystify a lot of this stuff for me, certainly. And also, you know, it's very exciting. It's very exciting. So Meshi is free too. That's what's up. Yeah.
Yeah, it
So
is pretty cool. Yeah, it's
yeah.
super cool. Like, to be honest, if like as an indie developer, it's really useful because it saves me way too much time to build my own 3D models.
Mhm.
And either I use all these free 3D models on Unity, where you can see them throughout the whole entire platform, like people have been using it for sure, or else
Mhm.
you just build your own 3D models, which is time consuming, and you're definitely not going to do as good as those, professional 3D artists. So
Right.
yes, to be honest, I personally think that those 3D modeling AI generated tools is useful for me. But for that professional that I talk with, she was like, I don't think it's really there yet because
Mhm.
it's still not like good enough to be there yet. But she does think there is potential if companies would want to put more effort and more money into that. It's definitely going to be a really great tool. I also want to add on to the beef between Unity and Unreal. So this year in GDC, Unity actually has a really, really small booth in comparison with Unreal. Unreal is having like gigantic screens and really nice talks. And to be honest, last year, what happened to Unity definitely crushed a little bit of their users. And although I'm a Unity user, I am also changing into Unreal Engine right now. They're just, yeah, sometimes in some specs, they're just better. So yeah, Unreal. Go try it.
Hey,
So
Sophia, there's actually a great intro tutorial that Unreal put out. I'm gonna throw it
Uh-huh.
in the chat to cap that, but I was just wondering to Kwan's question too about the pricing structure. If you've tried them, I know obviously like there's a lot of details to that, but are you able to speak to it a little bit? Like, yeah, like the free aspect or what it means to use that, how to use it?
You mean all these game engines, or
Unreal specifically, Unreal and Unity.
they have, to be honest, I think Unity has more free stuff right now. And because it was like older, so people have been generating a lot more stuff on that. But when the whole market gets big, you have stuffs that are not that good and stuffs that are like really good. I to be honest, I think it depends on what you're looking for the game. It doesn't necessarily have to be like how good the game engine is. It's more like if you're looking to build a really cool 3D realistic game, then Unreal. If you're looking to build just a simple 2D game, then use Unity. It's easier for you to learn. All the learning tools are online.
Mhm.
Like if you YouTube it on like Unreal or on Unity right now, there is definitely more Unity videos than Unreal. I would say that.
Gotcha.
Mm.
Yeah, I think that correct me if I'm wrong, the Matrix came
Uh-huh.
out with something on I think Unreal 5,
Hmm.
and it's like a very, very highly detailed, like almost New York City, maybe it is New York City. But that's like available for people to use. So like a lot of people have like taken that and have like built out games like on that, on top of that. And that's just like available for whoever wants it.
Hmm.
I feel like if you're really skilled, you already have a lot of experience in game development, then yes, Unreal, you're gonna have a lot of fun time using Unreal because there's so many details that you can calibrate and change to that. But for Unity, it's if you want to start gaming, I would say start from Unity.
Okay.
That's like Unity and 2D games. I started in a really hard way. Don't do it. Don't do it. Don't start with VR. No, that's not a good idea.
Hmm.
Fair.
I shared it to people and people were like, "Why didn't you start with 2D?" Like, I don't know, guys. I don't know. But yeah, 2D gaming, just build a simple puzzle game. That would be a
Mhm.
great project to start.
So Jeff, it sounds like I should work on like some XR, like a walkthrough for people when they come to our clubhouse slash, tech center. And they were like, well, what's this space? I can say, well, here, put on this headset, and then it'll show you, you can walk to the different spots. And you can see, well, this is this booth for this is this over here, blah, 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 blah. And then when they go to the sound lab, then our soundtrack, Matt, our soundtrack, they click on that and it'll start playing like, all the stuff we've done in the sound lab. Oh, I'm getting ideas, guys. I'm
Uh-huh.
getting ideas.
See what you started,
Hey,
Sophia?
I got a question.
Mm-hmm.
And this is my first sort of drop in on these chats. So you guys may have went over all these things and some others, but a lot of this seems like, I mean, to people who's into it, it might seem, kind of, but it seems like some of it is really high level for kids, for some of the kids who we serve. So is there any suggestions or starting points of like, hey, this is a way to kind of start your kids into thinking about it? We have kids, they put it on, they do all this, then they get all dizzy in the middle of the floor and all of that. But some of the things that you guys are talking about, like with Quan's even talking about developing, a virtual tech center world. And I believe Jeff and you guys, Matt, y'all did some things like that before that was presented. But I'm just kind of curious about really, really getting kids into this. Where should I start?
I'm ready for this question. I'm so ready. I got prepared. So I didn't start everything. Like obviously I started from zero. So what I did was I went through all the Unity learning projects. Let me also search the link. That I think Gus did a talk before, maybe. I think I saw it in the YouTube chat. But yeah, just go through, pick a project that you're interested in. If you want to do VR stuff, it's okay because they have all the toolkits, whatever environment setting that you need already in the whole entire instructions. So it's really easy for people or like for children to get their hands-on experience. If VR devices are not that accessible for kids, then I would suggest starting from AR projects. Niantic has been doing a really good job, I think, Niantic also has a really good learning platform, from what I understand. So AR games, it's on your phones. It's less pricey and it's more accessible for kids, obviously, because during, like, after the class time, if they want to build something, that's doable. It's there. And yeah, Niantic have been, I think that they do have like toolkits for, I'm not too sure, but yeah, I think they have toolkits for people to follow. How to engage students in, or how to engage children's in, is they can go like search for whatever product that Niantic have been done, like the Monster Hunter one recently and the Pokemon Go one. That might grab their interest, I think. Did I answer? I can answer more if you need more.
No, thank you, because I just want to figure out, I mean, AI and all of those things,
It's too far
unfortunately,
away for them, I know.
yes, unfortunately in our community, sometimes we're, we're late to the game on it. So wanting to really kind of figure out how do we, because it seems like this is where all this stuff is really, really going to. And so we want to figure out ways to really get our kids in mix with it on a way that they really can understand and really utilize it.
Hey, D-Hop, I would suggest this. I think most games, all games, right? It's about storytelling. So if you can create, get them kind of involved in that process of how do you tell a compelling story? Like it's like Frogger, right? Frogger is a story about how does a frog get from one side of the street to the other, and all the stuff in between is what makes it a game. But at the end of the day, it's you're trying to get from point A to point B. And so I think getting young people involved in that sort of mindset of like, how do you tell what's a story that you want to tell, and then be able to kind of like lay that out in like a storyboard form and get them involved in like that sort of process to say like, okay, so this is the story, well, this is our main character, here's our environment, here's the conflict, here's how they overcome it, here's what they'll use, and then here's the end result. Then you can start putting together those elements to go from like a 2D representation, and maybe that's a 2D game, and then maybe that evolves even further to like a 3D game. I mean, no different than you remember like Mario or like Sonic. Like those used to be 2D side scrollers, and now they're like open world games. So I think getting them involved in that first aspect of just being creative and learning how to tell a story, and then let it evolve into the gaming aspect of it and where it gets more interactive. Because sometimes like some of these games, like these really high profile ones, they're just movies. They're like interactive movies. So I will look at it from that perspective.
Also, D-Hop, just to add, I have a different perspective too, which even though these softwares can be high level, like you mentioned, and they seem inaccessible, I actually think because of AI right now and what's happening, they're becoming more accessible to perhaps the youth that we're serving. And there's two softwares that I particularly like, and I'll put them here in the chat, called Post Spaces EDU and Zoe VR. And you get these are a little bit more like they're game engines, but they're simplified than like Unity or Unreal. And it's a great way to get youth into the whole process of game development, because a lot of the things that they would be learning on those platforms easily transfer to the more complex and crazy tools, right? So I don't know if use Canva, but Canva seems to be like a very easy, drag and drop visual interface to create things on graphic design. But then a lot of the things that they can learn there can move on into Photoshop, which would be much more robust. So and they could do more with it. So yeah, but what I'm saying too is that when the kids are stuck, they could just go ask ChatGPT. It's like, hey, what in Unity, I'm getting stuck with this, and it'll give you pretty good answers. So I think that right now, these intimidating applications seem to be a little bit more approachable, I think. So I think an AI definitely has a lot to do with it right now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because I know like when we was asking our kids as part of like, things that they want to engage in, we were looking for them to be, oh, AI and VR and all these things, but they tended to kind of steer away from it a little bit. And then as we talked deeper, it was like, hey, we just don't really, I mean, do they use ChatGPT to do their homework? Yeah. To help get answers and things like that. Yeah. But in terms of like some of the depth of where this stuff can go, they just and when we talked, we kind of learned that it was more about, man, we really don't kind of just kind of have that kind of base knowledge and things like that in terms of how to really expand out. And so when I'm seeing your sites that are really, really drilling down and doing it, we really want to figure out ways. So again, I did put in the chat my email just very quickly because I know as other people want to probably talk. I did put in my email. If you get anybody want to reach out to me directly, and I could connect us up with our tech, with Chucky, our coordinator, because we're wanting to kind of implement some things, and so any help could be greatly appreciated.
Yeah, and D, I'll throw in real quick too. Like, yeah, Quan was hitting the jewels on it. Like that idea of starting with storytelling. I saw Sophia nodding too, and that like that analog simple part. But I was just gonna say we got a list of couple cool things too from different coordinators what they're using. That starts with like the most simple 8-bit side scroll where you're really just thinking of story and the tech is really low, and then expanding up from there. And we'll follow up with those afterwards. We could probably put them in a message. Probably sounds like that might be a good hookup for everybody. But yeah, we'll have that coming at you. All right, 5 minutes, folks. What else?
Oh yeah, I want to add on about the storytelling. So for the Whisper of Dust, I didn't start from the game mechanics. I actually started from a full-on novel that I want to make. It's like a novel that I've been writing for years, and the character is there, the story background is there. I don't think I'm a good writer, so I never published it, but I want to tell the story to someone. That's why I turned to doing VR stuff and try to make the people like the main character of my story and feel whatever story that I want to tell. So it's actually not a really techy game. It's not a really strategic game. That's why I chose puzzle for the mechanic. So puzzle is like, just put things at the right place and it works. The main key that I want to provide is the nice storytelling along the line. When you pick up books, you will read the details about your grandpa, the grandson, the connection between them, and what's happening, what's the story behind them. That's how I started, instead of just, like, oh, I want to make a VR game, so we're gonna do it. No, it's more like the story first, then the tech to add on.
Another plug for something that's related to what Sophia just said too. Last year, some of the Clubhouse sites participated in this Pixar initiative called Story XP. Our site was one of those, and man, that was a really good content that they provide. So these people that used to work at Pixar have Story XP, and they provide you with all of the how to tell a story in animation. What is the process that Pixar movies use to tell a story? And so you go through this project where you select characters, what are their strengths, their flaws, how do they react to the world, and where are they living, and all they give you the elements of good storytelling and storytelling that is used by these big studios. It's just amazing. So I think that is relevant for not only animation but video games and XR and all that. So Story XP I highly recommend. It's a really great program that you can incorporate at your clubhouses.
Nice, and that is about time. That did fly by super quick. And Sophia, I don't know if you saw, you're getting a bunch of props in the chats too. Info, great presentations and super dope. Yeah. Thanks so much. And if folks do have more questions and thoughts, you can keep them coming. Jeff's email is in the announcement for this. So yeah, you could just keep them coming at us. And Sophia, perhaps you'd be okay to field a couple if we send them your way. If folks are
I'm
still
also setting my email in the chat, so like if anyone has questions or need help, I'm more than willing to help.
Thanks so much. Excellent. Yeah, any last thoughts or anything before we break, everyone? Sophia?
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, thank you. That's amazing. And second, it's one notion like the demystification is powerful. It does. It feels a little bit more real to get up and go at some of this stuff that can be super intimidating. So thank you. And thanks everyone for coming.